The first 30 minutes decide if you stay broke or build wealth. Most people lose their day before it even begins. Not at noon, not in the afternoon. In the first few minutes, after they open their eyes, there's a moment most people never notice. A small window, quiet, unclaimed. And in that moment, your life is still yours. No notifications, no demands, no expectations, just you and the direction your mind is about to take. But almost everyone makes the same mistake. They reach outward. They grab their phone. They check messages. They scroll through updates. They react. And in doing that, they hand over control. Not gradually, instantly. Before they have even stood up, they're already responding to a world they didn't design. And that single decision, repeated every day, builds a life of reaction, not creation. Now, here's what most people don't understand. Wealth is not built in the marketplace first. It's built in the mind. And the mind was most vulnerable right after waking. That's not philosophy. That's structure. Because when you wake up, your brain is not fully filtered yet. It's open, impressionable. Whatever enters it first sets the direction for everything that follows. So if the first input is chaos, your day becomes reactive. If the first input is control, your day becomes intentional, and over time, that difference compounds. That's why two people can start in the same place and end up in completely different lives. Not because of opportunity, but because of how they start. There are people who understand this deeply. You won't recognize them immediately. Because their advantage is not loud. It's quiet. It happens behind closed doors, before the world is watching, before anything begins. They don't start their day, they design it. And that design determines everything. Because once your mind is set, your decisions follow. And once your decisions are consistent, your results become predictable. So the real question is not, what should I do today? The real question is, who am I becoming before the day begins? Because that identity controls everything else. Now, here's where most people get this wrong. They think success comes from action alone. Do more, work harder, push further. But action without direction creates exhaustion, movement without clarity creates frustration, and effort without identity creates inconsistency. And that's why people start strong and fade. They're operating from willpower, not structure. And willpower always runs out, but structure builds momentum, and momentum builds wealth. There's a simple principle that has existed for thousands of years. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. And the most powerful system you can build is your morning, not your schedule, not your calendar, your mental state before anything begins. Because if you win the morning, you control the day. And if you control enough days, you control your life. But this is where most people resist. Because what actually works is not complicated. It's consistent. And consistency requires discipline. So let's break this down. There are 6 components, not random, not optional. Each one serves a purpose. Each one builds on the next. And together they create a state that most people never experience. A state of control, clarity, direction, and that state is where wealth begins. First, our silence. Not meditation, not thinking, silence. Because your mind is constantly filled. Noise, thoughts, information, and most of it is not yours. It's absorbed from conversations, from media, from other people's expectations. So before you add anything new, you need to clear what's already there. Just a few minutes. No input, no distraction, just stillness. And in that stillness, something happens. Your mind resets, the noise fades, the pressure softens, and for the first time, you can actually hear yourself. Most people never reach that point because they fill every moment with something external. But clarity requires space, and silence creates that space. Second, or no, declaration. Because once the space is clear, you decide what fills it. Not the world, you. And this is where identity is built, not by thinking, by speaking. Because words shape perception, and perception shapes behavior. So what you declare becomes what you move toward. Not magically, systematically. If you consistently tell yourself, I am limited, I am behind, I am struggling, your decisions will reflect that. But if you declare, I am building, I am growing, I am becoming, your behavior begins to align because your mind is now working toward a defined identity, and identity is what determines outcomes. Third, writing. Because thoughts that stay in your head stay unclear. But thoughts on paper become structured. Writing forces clarity. It turns vague ideas into defined direction. It transforms intention into commitment. And without clarity, there is no progress because you cannot move towards something you haven't defined. So you write, not everything, just what matters, what you're aiming for, what you're grateful for, what you've learned, simple but powerful, because clarity removes hesitation. Fourth, input. What you read, what you consume, what you allow into your mind, because your thoughts are built from what you feed them. Most people start their day with noise, news, social media, distraction, and then wonder why they feel scattered. But if your first input is structure, your thinking becomes structured. If your first input is clarity, your decisions become clear, so you choose carefully, because what enters your mind early stays with you all day. Fifth, movement, because your body controls your state, not just your thoughts. If your body is slow, your mind follows. If your body is active, your energy shifts, and energy is required for execution. So you move, not for fitness, for activation, because motion creates momentum, and momentum is what carries you through resistance. Sixth, gratitude, not as a habit, as a reset, because most people operate from lack. They focus on what's missing, what's delayed, what's not working, and that focus creates more of the same. But when you shift focus to what exists, your perception changes, and perception determines experience. So you acknowledge what you have, not to ignore reality, but to reposition yourself within it. And that shift creates stability. Now here's why this entire system works. Not because it's motivational, because it builds three things: identity, clarity, momentum. And those three are the foundation of wealth, not tactics, not strategies, foundations, because without identity, you won't sustain success. Without clarity, you won't reach it. Without momentum, you won't maintain it. So this is not about a routine. It's about a structure that builds the version of you that can create results. And once that version is built, everything else follows. Not instantly, but inevitably, because the system is now aligned, and alignment produces outcomes. Wait, so if you've been stuck, if you've been trying, if you've been doing everything right and nothing has changed, then don't change everything. Change how you start, because the first 30 minutes are not just the beginning of your day. They are the blueprint of your life. And if you take control of that, you take control of everything that follows.